And just days after his first inaugural, the newly sworn-in President Obama sat down with Al Arabiya News and offered a hand of friendship to the Arab world.
Ultimately, people are going to judge me not by my words, but by my actions and my administration's actions.
So how is the Arab world judging the president's potential military action in Syria right now? Hisham Melhem is the Washington bureau chief for Al Arabiya Television. He joins me to talk about this. And Hisham, you actually conducted that first interview with President Obama all the way back then. It seems like an awfully long time ago.
Century ago.
So how does the Arab world now view that hand of friendship that he offered?
There is no doubt that President Obama's stature and reputation in the Arab world has taken a beating long before the war in Syria. From the beginning, especially after his Cairo speech, which was really transformational in many ways, the reputation of the president began to go down for a variety of reasons. One of them is the fact that he did not deliver on his strong position against Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. He was stiffed by Netanyahu, and he did really nothing. Later on, when he pursued the policy of engaging Iran, that did not appeal to many countries, particularly Saudi Arabia and UAE in the Gulf. Later on, and one of the biggest problems that he had with the leaders of the Arab world, particularly in the Gulf, is the way they see his dumping of Mubarak 1 week after the huge demonstrations began in Cairo against Mubarak. They felt that if the President of the United States is not going to stand by an ally of 30 years, he's not going to stand by any of us. So that was a momentous event. And then later on, his handling of Syria and other issues.
The big question then is, what now? You heard Secretary of State John Kerry say that a key issue for the U.S. right now is credibility. The U.S. needs to take some kind of action against Syria to maintain credibility around the world, and I assume that means in the region as well. So if they do carry out the kind of limited strike that seems to be on the table right now, will that be enough for the United States to maintain its credibility in the region?
I'm not sure. The president's credibility was violated and trashed by Bashar al-Assad because the president, a year ago, exactly last August, established his so-called famous or infamous red lines, and then Bashar al-Assad violated them. Now the president is trying to restore that credibility by talking about a limited punitive action to deter him, but not to change the regime in Damascus.
Are you saying it may be too late to be credible?
I think it is too late to be credible, especially if the operation is going to be as limited as narrow-focused, because there is a downside to that. Any operation that will allow Bashar to remain in power, if he absorbs it, he will look powerful. The Arab states will be frustrated. The opposition that's close to the United States will also be frustrated. The Islamists in Syria will be emboldened because they will say, this is America, turned you down again. And the moderate Arab states will see it as another sign of weakness, and Iran will be emboldened.
Let's talk about the Arab League for a second here, because those Arab nations, they're not exactly taking a bold stand themselves right now. They've spoken out against the alleged chemical attack in Syria. They've spoken out against Bashar al-Assad, but they're not willing to support any kind of military action here. So what do they really want?
No, the Saudis and the Jordanians and others, their intent is to get rid of this regime. They want regime change. They want to see Bashar out, but because they want to deal a defeat, tactical defeat of Iran and Bashar's regime and Hezbollah. But they are not necessarily going to participate openly the way some of them did, like the UAE and Qatar in the operation in Libya. Look, there is no leadership in the region. And one of the reasons why we have this tragedy in Syria is that the regional powers are unable to provide the leadership. The Europeans on their own cannot provide leadership. And because of the dithering of the Obama administration, there was no international leadership. And the only leadership is the American leadership. And everybody in the region was waiting for more than 2 years, waiting for American umbrella and American leadership under which they could move also, but they cannot lead by themselves.
Hisham Melhem, bureau chief for Al Arabiya, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time here.